right. Okay, it's right before Christmas for us. Day of recording, it is December 23rd. So we will wish those of you that get this on Patreon a Merry Christmas, or if you're watching it live on any of our video services that we broadcast to, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
I'm on vacation, sort of, because I didn't use up enough of my vacation time during the year, so I'm trying to squeeze it all in now, and that's not a good idea. I don't recommend that.
Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is. At least you have it. You have a job that gives you vacation time.
I know. It's when you plan your vacation and then you lose your center audio channel, you kind of got to stay around until it's fixed.
Yeah. Yeah, that was our bone with last week's show coming out late. Was Chris was on call trying to fix the fucking theater the entire time.
Yeah. And it was nothing any of the IMAX guys would have looked for. It was found by accident, and I don't want to expand on that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So we are finishing up our 2024 cram this week with 2 studio thrillers / horror films that I mean, both of these films. Okay, so we're doing the first Omen and we're doing Blink Twice, which are 2 films that really were not on my radar in terms of things that I'm like, I should probably check these out. But I got a multitude of people in professional and personal life that were like, oh no, you should, these are surprisingly good. Because I remember the previews for Blink Twice, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, Channing Tatum, whatever. Like Zoe Kravitz's first directorial debut, whatever. Studio shill stuff, whatever. Didn't think twice about it. And then I had a couple people be like, hey, no, actually, you know, I'm not saying you're going to love it, but check it out. It's better than probably what you think. And then a bunch of people talked really highly of the first Omen, and it wasn't even on my radar. Like I didn't even like think about it. But
I
bunch
heard
of people,
it got good reviews, but I wasn't interested.
Well, and I think part of my lack of interest in the first Omen is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in the last few years, I feel like there has been a massive glut of horror films featuring hot nuns and like devil shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all The Conjuring's fault, isn't it?
Well, The Conjuring, the Nun flick, the Nun 1 and 2.
That comes out of I was considering that altogether. Yeah.
But specifically numbers of films. You have the Conjuring films, you have the Nuns films. What was the one? Is Immaculate the one that had Sydney Sweeney? It was earlier this year.
Oh yeah, there was Immaculate, then there was Saint Maud.
Even going back to Aronofsky's Mother a little bit.
Of course.
But all of these films seem like the same thing to me. So like when I saw the preview, the trailer for First Omen, it didn't even right by me.
Mm-hmm,
and a couple people personally liked it, so I was like, all right, well, let's check it out. So that's what we're doing this week.
Yeah,
it's exciting stuff. So we are doing the end of year top 10 albums this coming Saturday night, December 28th at 7 p.m. If you are a Patreon member, I sent out a message with a link to the Riverside Studio, but I'm going to make that public to everybody, so I will post that on our Facebook group. I'll post it on Instagram and those places. So if you want to join the show live, you can join the show live in the virtual studio audience, if you will. I don't think this is going to broadcast on our Twitch and our YouTube and our OTC Facebook page because of the use of copyrighted music. But we can't really do the music show without using it. So the Riverside Studio, which is its own enclosed space, allows us to be able to do it freely and like not have to worry about takedown notices or anything like that. This is a show we've been doing for many, many years. And it is definitely Mel, me, and Bro this year. I think we've actually pared it down just the 3 of us the last couple of years. It's just easier, and it still runs almost 3 hours when we do it. But if you would like to send in a list, you can email it to outsidethecinema@gmail.com, or you send us a message on Facebook, or send me a message on Instagram @OTCBill, or a message through Patreon, any of those places. If you send it through the Gmail, it's probably the easiest way for me to make sure I get everything together. But those shows are always fun, and there's a nice live component to it with people reacting if you can join us live. So look for that link for the Riverside Studio. I can't really, I mean, I could give it to you, but it's literally like one of those things where it's like riverside.fm/OTC 692 ampersand 53 underscore 12 or like something like that.
Yeah, you have to understand hexadecimal code to log in.
Yeah. So just check the Facebook group. Just search Outside the Cinema in groups. I think it might just be facebook.outsidethecinema.net or .com, one of those. I don't know. But it's on that'll be the easiest place to find it. And we'll be doing that show on Saturday night at 7 p.m. December 28th. So.
Yeah.
I don't think we have anything else. We could probably get right into these, right?
That's fine with me.
All right. Do you have a preference on which one we do first?
Not really.
Okay, let's do Blink Twice first then, because I have that one up here. Here, gotta find trailer for it. Playlist.
What are we gonna do about you?
Blink Twice is a must-see twist-filled thriller.
Did you feel it? There's something wrong with this place.
It's the most daring and provocative movie of the year.
There's a version of this where we're all just still having a good time and laughing.
Director Zoe Kravitz delivers a shocking, edge-of-your-seat masterpiece.
We need to know what's really going on.
Blink Twice, rated R, now playing only in theaters.
And now it's going to play something else that I'm not interested in you guys seeing. There we go. All right. Blink Twice, 2024, directed and co-written by Zoe Kravitz. Zoe Kravitz obviously has been around for a little while now, best known probably for her role in The Batman as Selena Kyle. But she was also in X-Men First Class. She was in Divergent, the TV show Big Little Lies. She's been in a bunch of stuff. So she is, a well-known property at this point. But this is her directorial debut. Which she co-wrote the film with E.T. Feinbaum, who he's been around for a long time too. He worked on the High Fidelity TV series, among other things. And yeah, this is an interesting film because, like I said, it being a studio, property, MGM backed, which is owned by Amazon now, which still blows my mind. Faces that Channing Tatum, Christian Slater, Simon Rex. I mean, Simon Rex is kind of funny. But Alia Shawkat, Haley Joel Osment. These are all people that you like. You're like, oh, okay. And Naomi Aki plays Frida, who's your main girl. She's been in a few things too over the years. She was Jana in Star Wars Episode 9.
Okay.
Was it 9 she was in?
Familiar to us, but we couldn't figure out, and we didn't bother to look her up.
Fair enough. But she is probably best known at this point for her portrayal of Whitney Houston in the Whitney Houston biopic I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Okay.
A film that got kind of unfairly torn up, I think. I watched it. It was fine. It wasn't like, as far as biopics go, it wasn't like anything special, but I felt as though it got really harsh reviews.
Was it critical of her, or was it?
People were kind of like, it's kind of whitewashing the bad stuff.
Well, yeah, biographies do that.
Yeah,
sometimes.
they do that. If you want to get the real story, you watch the documentaries.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, so Blink Twice, Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut. A lot of it, like we said, a lot of faces. Basically, the story is pretty simple to start, at least. You have Channing Tatum, who plays Slater. He is a disgraced CEO of a large company, one of those innocuous tech companies that is involved in like a little bit of everything. He's supposed to be like I would akin him to like a Mark Zuckerberg type level.
Yeah,
character.
but like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Not like today. Back when it was like acceptable to be like that, I guess.
For a large chunk of the community, it is still acceptable to be like that.
Oh, okay.
But yes, I get what you're saying. Whereas like it was like a 10-year ago, like running a company, somebody did, but like 10 years ago, like it was a different world.
What I mean is like not as involved in like, because Zuckerberg's definitely more involved in politics, and so is Bezos and all those fucking fuckfaces. But it's not that kind of thing. It's just like Bezos before he bought the Washington Post or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, or Elon Musk before he bought Twitter.
Yo, fuck that guy.
Well, yeah, obviously, but
stupid person.
Smartest guy in the room. What are you talking about?
If he's the only one in the room.
Yeah, it's true.
Have you heard him
If he's in a room,
talk?
if he's in a room with Donald Trump, he's the smartest guy in the room, I guess.
You know, that's a close fight right there, I think, because they both think they know everything, and they are so fucking stupid.
So Channing Tatum plays Slater. We open up essentially with him doing an apology video of, scumbag CEO things. It's never really said what exactly he has done or anything like that, but it is very much, I'm sorry for my past transgressions. I need to be better. I'm going to work on myself, be better. I'm the paint by numbers response to somebody doing scumbag shit.
Yeah, it's almost like he could have recorded that a month ago and had it ready to go if something happened.
Right.
It was that fucking generic.
Exactly.
And we never find out what it is.
Well, we kind of do.
Well, I mean, it's never explicitly stated that, this is what everybody got mad at me for.
Right. We can get into that when we get into spoilers later in the conversation, I think. So then we're introduced to Frida. She's flipping through stuff on her phone. Her and her roommate, Jess, played by Alia Shawkat, who's best known, obviously, as maybe from Arrested Development, but she's been in a bunch of things over the years. And I feel like she has unfortunately gotten very typecast into being the friend. Every movie she's in, she's the friend that gets killed right away.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
but I like her. There's something about her I like very much. And I wish we got more of her in this movie because I really enjoyed the stuff that she did in this movie.
Yeah, if she had a more prominent role, though, things wouldn't have gone the way they did.
No, you're right. It would have changed the whole dynamic of things. Anyway,
she was the only smart one out of all the women.
So Frida and Jess are roommates. They're struggling to make rent. They're just, they're struggling New Yorkers, essentially. It's the same story you get. They work for a catering company. The catering company is doing a big gala that they do every year for Slater's company. I don't remember the name of the company offhand. It's probably like Slater Corp or something like like Luther Corp or like whatever. So her boss says to her in what is a seemingly throwaway line that becomes painfully evident later in the film when things start to unravel. They know that this is the Slater Corp is our biggest party of the year. Her boss says to Frida, "Hey, last year you spent too much time talking up people that you shouldn't be talking to." And she's like, well, he started talking to me, referring to Slater. And I was just being polite or whatever. And he's like, yeah, well, don't be. He's like, there's a job that's got to get done and you need to do it, basically.
Yeah.
So it's this giant over the top dinner where everyone is self-fellatiating each other, their accomplishments. It's, giant white backdrop with the Stark guy in front of it with the dark suit. And they're like,
that room was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. But that's exactly what those fucking things are. So it's I know. It works perfectly. And it's living in this world that I think all of us have seen. Not that we can relate to what it is, but we can relate to the indulgence that it is, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So you're immediately put on notice of like, okay, there's scumbag shit going on. This guy's apologizing for stuff. I don't like anybody.
Right. No one is, except for maybe, is at all relatable or likable.
And Frida's relatable in the sense that she is struggling in life. And whenever somebody offers her something, she's going to jump on it and milk it for whatever she can because she's unhappy with her life. So Jess and Frida go to this after party for it. They're sort of they're allowed to be there, but like they kind of shouldn't be there type thing. And they basically get turned away from an area that's, only certain people are allowed into the area. But then Frida somehow comes across Slater, and the two of them start chatting, and they're talking, and they've got this whole crew of people with them. So they got a bunch of girls, there's a bunch of guys, and this is where Christian Slater, Simon Rex, Haley Joel Osment, they're all like together, and they've got a group of girls with them, and they're all just chatting, and they're like, you know what? We're going to go to the island. And one of the things that Slater says in his explanation of what he's been doing since apologizing for his transgressions is that he bought a private island and he's been working on himself in therapy and all of these things. And he's like, we're going to go to the island. You guys want to come to the island with us?
Yeah, it doesn't sound sketchy.
No, not at all. But again, as we said before, Frida is sad, lonely, poor, struggling.
Stupid.
And also, you can tell that she has a crush on this guy because she was watching his videos and like a crush / respect, whatever you want to look at it. But they're like, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah, we're going to go.
Yeah.
They get on a private plane. They fly to this island in the middle of nowhere. And basically everything is being provided to them. Everything they need. They got clothes. They're given all the food they want. Simon Rex's character, he's supposed to be like some bigwig chef because he keeps talking all the intricacies. Help me.
Details.
Details of the food and like all of this
Intricacies.
stuff. He's got a girl there with him. He keeps calling her babe, and she's like, "Don't call me babe." And he keeps calling her babe, and like we learned that she is one of the girls that was on Survivor, Hot Babe Survivor,
Yeah.
which I wish was a real show. I wouldn't watch it. I just wish it was a real show. But she's been on like 8 seasons of that, and she's gone through all this training. We got the stoner chick that's with them, that's high, that's smoking weed all the time.
The blonde, right?
Yep.
She was good. She played her role perfect. She's the only character I actually liked seeing on screen.
Yeah,
She was funny.
Yeah, that was True Mullen who played Heather. Or was that? Oh, yeah. And Gina Davis shows up too. She plays Channing Tatum's manager / publicist / assistant, whatever. You know, she's the be all for everything.
Yeah.
So they're brought to this private island, and they're given all this luxurious stuff. They're given this special perfume that you can only get there, and like all these different things. And they just start partying. You know, they're in the pool, they're on the beach, they're eating these extravagant meals, they're kind of like fooling around and like all these things. And as it goes on, it's just like they lose track of what day it is. They don't know how long they've been there, but Channing Tatum's big thing is just kind of like, hey, are you having a good time? Yeah, I'm having a great time. This is amazing. All right, then don't worry about it. And they're like, yeah, at first they're like, yeah, all right, we won't worry about it.
Yeah,
And
a
it
couple
keeps
days.
going.
Okay. Yeah.
No, okay, no, go for it.
Oh no, I was gonna say a couple days is okay, but
Even a week, like
Yeah.
they got nothing. They got nothing. They're running away from or anything like that.
No, but
So-
eventually the questions start being more vague as time goes on with the answers.
Right.
What
correct.
day is it? What does it matter?
Right.
No,
How long have we
sorry,
been here?
dude.
Yeah. But they're just in there smoking weed and they're doing they're doing the drugs.
Yeah.
And they're having this great time. But then there's these kind of little weird flashes of things that are kind of like weird. And there's like how they're so militant about keeping the snakes off the property. They talk about how the snakes are a real problem on the island and they have to keep them off the property. There's these continued run-ins that Frida has with one of the workers that's like a native from the island, and she keeps calling her Red Rabbit. We don't know why. And she's just kind of confused by it, and she's very like persistent in like the way she's like Red Rabbit, like she's trying to communicate something to her.
Yeah.
But she's more scared.
When she was saying that, I thought, oh shit, this is just going to turn into another stupid Hunting Humans movie.
That's that's what I was afraid. Well, that's what I thought. But what
It
ends
turns
up
out now
happening-
that's maybe what I was hoping for.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that's what I was hoping it would be, but it actually ended up being exactly what I was afraid it was going to be.
Yeah.
So at this point, if you have not seen Blink Twice, please stop listening, and you don't want it ruined for you. Stop the review, watch the film, come back. In the US, it's available to watch at MGM Plus or any of your on-demand services. I'll say it's worth checking out. I'm not saying whether I liked it or not or giving it a grade or anything like that, but I would say if it sounds interesting to this point and you want to find out what's going on, watch the movie first and come back to the review. Okay?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Spoilers open from this point out. Okay. So we start to see cracks. First with Jess's character, she's kind of like, she's the one that's like, what day? Like, how long have we been here? And Frida is basically just like, hey, don't fuck this up for me.
Yeah.
And she's just kind of like, oh, okay. I'm sorry, kind because Frida's character has definitely become intertwined with Channing Tatum's character of Slater, and then
he's
also
taking a special liking.
Yeah, specifically to her. And then there's also the Sarah character, which is the hot survivor babes character, who she's kind of like trying to work in on Slater, and he's not having any of it. He's not interested in her, but she is like thirst trapping this dude hard.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing.
It is, and she keeps trying to step in the way of Frida, but Frida, for whatever reason, is Slater likes her. But the interesting thing through this point is we haven't seen any like crazy, like there's like no like sex scenes, there's no like orgy style, like none of that, like or like violence or anything. We just get these kind of shots of the girls running around with like in these like long dresses with their faces covered with veils, and like there's a point where they stop and they're like, "Wait, why are we running? What's going like?"
I appreciated that because at that point in the movie, after you'd seen it 3 or 4 times, I'm like, why the fuck are they doing that? And then they stopped, and I'm like, oh, okay, good on you, movie.
Right. So now there's a point where Jess gets bit by one of the snakes.
Mm-hmm.
And Channing Tatum kills the snake, and she's like, oh my God, is it poisonous? And they're like, yeah, it's poisonous, but you're not going to die. Don't worry. Like, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay. And she says something to, like, later in the evening, something to Frida about, like, something is very, very wrong here. There's something, like, something is not right. I don't know. There's something wrong. Why can't we have our phones? Like, and you're in the middle of the ocean, so the phones don't work anyway. So, like, them taking away the phones didn't make sense to me at first, but then I realized, but there'd be, like, people they would take photos and stuff. And
Yeah.
So, the next morning, Frida gets up, and Jess is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, where is Jess? And she goes to Gina Davis's character, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she goes to the other girls, and they're like, where's Jess? And they're like, who's Jess?
Right.
And she's like, oh, she was my friend that came with me. She's staying in the room next door. And they're like, they're all like, I don't know who Jess is. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then Gina Davis is like, oh, you mean staying in the storage room? Nobody's staying in the storage room. And so she goes into the room, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff stored in there.
Yeah.
And she's gone. And now Frida is starting to question some things, and she's not exactly sure what's going on. But she's like, something is not right. Because she knows that Jess was there. And she has another run-in with the woman that's the native that's working, and she sees her draining the venom from the snakes. And there's a point where early in the film she had run, like just before this, where she had run into her, and she thought she was taking shots. She had this she had this flask full of what she thought was alcohol. She takes a sip of it. The woman gives her a sip of it, and we come to learn that it's actually the snake venom. So she then all of a sudden starts to remember things that she couldn't remember before.
Yeah.
She doesn't have it all yet, but she's like, there's something fucked up going on. So she goes to the others, and she goes to Sarah, and then gives Sarah some of the venom, and then she starts to snap out of it, and the two of them are realizing, well, fuck.
That's when I started finally liking that character.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have her makeup on when she has to pretend to be happy. She was a good character then. She was, you could see the actress was doing a good job.
Well, and it also goes to show that whatever they're doing to these women, they're also kind of making them different people. They're not actually like they would actually be.
Yeah.
And we see, the real Sarah character. We see the real Frida character. And then they are like, okay, we're going to have to give the venom to the other girls too, because they start to have these flashbacks, and it's Epstein Island shit that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And basically what the twist here is, and again, last chance, full spoilers. If you don't want to know, boom, done. They were all given this perfume when they show up, and this perfume has something in it that makes them not remember what's happening.
Yeah.
Now, there's definitely, if you want to start pulling some threads, the whole story will fall apart if you do, but there's something more with it in terms of like what's going on. And so we know that now, it's like these guys are just fucking savages, and every night they're just doing whatever the fuck they want to these women.
What I don't understand is that, and it's the same in real life, And I understand that it's got to be something mentally, power abuse, whatever.
It's 100% what it is.
But they're so rich. They don't have to pay money to do this. People would willingly sleep with them for free. So I don't.
But that's real. That's how it. I mean, look at P. Diddy. Look at Epstein and all the people that he worked with.
Yeah.
All these guys, like, it's a power thing. They want. It's more about, and this is my personal opinion, obviously.
Yeah.
But it is more about having the power to make somebody do something as opposed for them wanting to do it. You know what I mean? Like, those guys get off on the fact that they can force anybody to do what they want, and if somebody doesn't want it, it makes them want to do it more.
Yeah.
Because it allows them to wield the power.
I understand all of that. Look, it's making me sick.
No, hey, dude, I agree with you 100% because, like,
I just don't understand how people can behave like that. Like,
I don't get it either. It's not something that, like, is not in our character. Like,
no,
we see
it's not in, like, a lot, 99% of people's character to, oh, hey, that woman's nice. I should probably drug her with snake venom and fuck her.
Right. No, it doesn't make any sense to a rational mind. But I think people that live in that world, they don't have any rationality. And
it is about being out of touch. Isn't it?
And I mean, we'll use our incoming president as a perfect example of this, of just like being told whatever he wants by everybody for so long that he just does whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And then it's like, he gets called out. It's like, well, the federal case is a perfect example. He just doesn't believe that any of it's true. Like, in his mind, I truly believe that he doesn't think that he did anything wrong. And that everybody else is wrong because he's able to do whatever he wants without any repercussions.
Yeah. On a lighter note, that's kind of how we got the Star Wars prequels. No one said no. No one said,
true.
Hey,
it's
George,
true.
you think maybe that's a bad idea or that's not going to work? No, nobody said that. And he was like, all right, well, we'll just do more Jar Jar.
He can be in the Senate.
I mean, Lucas's prequels are the most innocuous example of somebody. You can't be Monstar with your fucking yes man fighting the Silverhawks. You need somebody to go, hey, maybe we should close that door.
So yes, this film gets dark, and it gets dark very quickly. And I was not expecting, because I didn't really do. Excuse me. Yeah, it's making me sick too, dude. I did not expect, because like I said, I didn't do a lot of research into what it was about. I had seen the trailer, and I was like, okay, whatever. I did not expect it to go into this heavy social commentary of white men and how we're terrible. And I will be the first to say, yes, we are.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to argue that. I mean, people love this movie because they wanted to see that shit happen to the,
Yeah. So
the men.
As a social commentary, it actually works. It works quite well because there's a lot of, if you want to get into the like symbolism, like the symbolism of the perfume being what makes them forget is the idea of fake news, basically people being told, what's not true to make you feel better. Or whatever. So there's all that type of stuff. The white guys obviously play, and they each have their own spot of like Channing Tatum is the ringleader, so he's the hot guy. Christian Slater is your older, more like established guy, but is still just as terrible because he's been able to do it for as long. Simon Rex is the hot. It's like supposed to be like the hot, like hip type guy. And Haley Joel Osment is like the frumpy CEO that still gets whatever he wants because he's rich as fuck. So there's all of this symbolism. So anyway, the two of them have figured out what's going on now and are like, we are fucked. Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
We are fucked, plain and simple. And there's this crazy scene where Frida remembers what had happened the previous night and what happened to Jess. And it is just fucking brutal. Like, it's simple of like, she remembers what's going on and they just snap her neck.
Yeah.
Like, there's no give her the perfume. There's no, like, they're just like, well, she remembers, fucking crack. Done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So needless to say, there's a chunk of scenes here where they've realized what's going on. The other two girls haven't realized it yet, and in a moment of clarity, when things are about to start happening for the wrong, they realize what is going on, and like there's the retribution of like, oh shit, well fuck you, and shit goes fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So there is a great, feeling of that retribution there for them, but it's very short-lived, and dark and nasty. And then the way the film ends, without saying exactly what ends, because it doesn't really matter, but like there's definitely some questions I have for like the way it ends and how it works. But if you don't pull at those threads and just take it for what it is, it's a very satisfying ending.
Yeah.
So what else you want to add about it here, dude?
Nothing.
Okay, all right, let's just fucking grade it then. All right, Chris, do you recommend, and what is your grade for Blink Twice?
No, I don't.
Interesting.
I think this is insulting and lazy. And any movie that uses rape as its central plot, I fail. And I have for years. And this is an F, because fucking be creative. You're just raping women. Like, I know that's a terrible sentence. Scott, please use that appropriately. But like, I'm like, oh, they're going to hunt them. And the dude comes back with the black eye. And I'm like, okay, good. Something's finally fucking happening. But it's just, they just want sex. And it's so fucking pedestrian. As soon as the woman was bent over the table and you got the chef guy or whoever behind her, I shut it off. I was done. I stopped with 40 minutes left because no, this movie is not good. It's not subversive. It doesn't, whatever the fucking critics say, it's a rape movie. It's a movie about guys getting raped, and then it's I spit on your grave with 4 more women. But it's not that good. Because why the fuck would you bring the people to the island that has the cure for their fucking amnesia?
That's a really good point.
Have a second fucking island there, Jurassic Park. This is too stupid. The main character, I hated her. She was selfish. She was ignorant. She was just dumb. All of it was just insulting. And it's an F. I'm never going to watch this again. This may be the worst movie that I've seen this year because I expected more from a studio film.
You watched that season of The Witch thing with Vanessa Hudgens.
Yeah. I would watch that again over this.
Really? Okay.
100%, because at least there's some fucking landmarks around here I can recognize.
Okay. All right.
But you know how I am. Like Ninja Scroll is like a fine line between yes and no for me, because it does help the bad guy get murdered, but that's the only purpose it serves.
Okay.
In that. But it's more like they could have been doing anything to these women. They could have been feeding vegetarian steak and giving them stuff, or make them like compete or something. But it's so like, I don't want to watch a movie with fucking Gambit in it and then have it be the goddamn headlines. They could have. Why don't we just take it a step further and make them all underage women? That would have been fucking shocking, wouldn't it? This movie made me mad, and I'm really upset that Gambit can play one of the funniest and best characters. Gambit, fucking Tatum can play Gambit and be one of the funniest characters I've seen on screen this year, and also in the worst movie that was released this year, in my opinion.
Interesting. All right. Okay.
So that's it. I'm good.
All right. I think it's been a while since you and I have fallen this far on the opposite sides of the fence. But mine's I'm taking a stand right here. No, I get that, and I'm with you, for the most part with that stand. But I actually was, I think, more surprised by this than anything else, because I fully expected to have the reaction that you had. Like outside of 70s rape revenge flicks, any movie that kind of uses the, sexual stuff as its weapon, I have a hard time swallowing it. And this is like ripped from the headlines type stuff.
Yeah.
But I actually was surprised at how well written it was. And I mean, it's shot very standard. And Mel watched this with me too, and she was surprised by it as well. And like we kind of had a conversation, and we talked about how it's Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut. And I was like, well, I'm like, she's lucky because she was able to have a studio system behind her to make her first film. So she, as you know, even as a struggling actress who's worked her way up, she didn't have the experience of trying to make a film on your own and basically having to, do it all yourself and edit it yourself. And like, she just was able to come in the director's chair and sit down and start doing the job. I know she, and I'm not trying to take away from her. That's not, I know it comes off like that because that's what Mel said. Mel was like, oh, well, why are you saying she couldn't have done? I go, no, it's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that she was able to make a film of this higher quality because of
it wouldn't
fact.
have that finish to it.
It would have been different, and it probably would have been a better film because you would have had to do more with less. I think the indulgence in this film almost hurts it because it is so slick. With that said, though, I am still recommending it. The torn from the headline stuff, I was like, I don't want it to go there. That's not where it should go. And it went exactly where I thought it was going to go. But I thought the way that they did it, the perfume, the snake venom, yes, again, just like you said, you start to pull those threads and the whole thing falls apart. Why would they why would they have them at the island where the venom is gonna make them remember?
Not to mention, they said that they're lash vipers, and there's no such thing as eyelash vipers. And also, those were like pythons or boas. I can never. It's like alligator and crocodile for me.
Right? Yeah. No, I get you.
It's a snake that's gonna crush me, not bite me. I get it. It might bite me, but it's not gonna kill me with the bite. So,
right.
I just categorize them in my head like that.
Right. So, I liked it enough.
Okay.
And it was because I was surprised that it was as well done as it was. It's not shot interesting. It looks like every other, mainstream thriller. There's a couple times they shot with some anamorphic lenses and got some streaks and some stuff, but like, it's not, there's nothing, and I didn't look up who the cinematographer was, but there's nothing really interesting about the way it's shot, but I thought they did a pretty good job with it for what it was. And then the ending, which you didn't even actually get to see, is...
I read about it.
Yeah, it's good in the like, all right, she's making him pay. But then you start to, well, what does he remember? What doesn't he remember? There's like all these different things.
Right, and it's not really payback if they don't suffer. If they don't know they're suffering, is it punishment?
Right.
Or is she just doing to him financially what he did to her?
And that's what it is. She worked it for her own personal gain.
She turned into him.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Like almost literally.
Yeah. So as far as a grade, I can't go really high on it because I do have a lot of problems with it, but I can't go really low on it either because it surprised me. So we're going to give it a C because it's just middle of the road, maybe a C, borderline C plus. It's good for what it is. It's not great, but I was surprised at the quality of the filmmaking involved in it. And I think Zoe Kravitz can probably do some pretty good stuff from the director's chair. If she gets a little like, I don't know. So now again, maybe she didn't have the freedom to really kind of like stretch out and like get more interesting things going on. She might've been very limited because MGM was probably like, hey, it's your first time out. We're going to tell you what to do. Or maybe they weren't. I don't gather that she got a lot of freedom. I think this was an opportunity for her to get into the director's chair with something that she wrote and make the movie. And hopefully this did fairly well. I think, I don't think it wasn't like blockbusters, but like it did well enough. I think for her to probably get another shot at directing something. Hopefully she will direct something that's a little more interesting in its storytelling.
Yeah.
Next time down. So there you have it. I recommend it. Chris doesn't. Take with that what you will.
You know what I am looking forward to?
What is that?
The Nick Frost, Aisling B movie, Getaway. Or Get Away.
I don't think I've even seen the. I don't think I've seen anything about it.
Okay. I'll text you the title again later, and you can watch the trailer. But it's the short line is a family on holiday in a remote Swedish island discovers a serial killer on the prowl, and it's Nick Frost's first solo writing.
Okay.
But I like Aisling B, and I'll support her in stuff, and I like Nick Frost, so
I still like Nick
this
Frost.
seems fun.
I'll
but
check it. I'll check
it'll
it.
be on. It says it's going to be on the subscription Sky Cinema in the UK, January 10th. I thought it was this year. So it's not going to be on my list or a contender for my list. So I have a whole year to watch it.
Fair enough. All right. Our second review tonight, The First Omen, prequel to
That's what the other one was. Yeah.
prequel to the original Omen film from the 70s. I feel that the Omen series is something that I just don't really care about. It's not something that I've ever really. I've seen, I think, all of them, but I don't take any, like, even the original, which is considered a classic, is not something that I ever think about. Which is why this film didn't even hit a blip on my radar. So here's a quick trailer.
Yeah.
There's this girl at the orphanage.
Carlita.
You must be very careful, Margaret. It's the girl. Evil things will start to happen.
It's all for you. No, don't.
What does any of this have to do with Carlita?
How do you control people who no longer believe? You create something to fear. I believe the girl is to be the mother.
Mother of what?
It's the mark of the devil.
It's not real. 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 Who said that?
All right.
Omen.
The First Omen. All right. Directed by Arkasha Stevenson. Screenplay by Tim Smith, Arkasha Stevenson, Keith Thomas. There's a bunch of names attached to this, and then also David Seltzer, because it's based on the characters that he created for the original Omen. Arkasha Stevenson is not a filmmaker I'm super aware of.
No, me either.
Legion, Vessels, Brand New Cherry Flavor. I don't. Oh, Channel Zero. Some of the Channel Zero stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know the work, not the person.
Correct. Neil Tiger Free as Margaret. Nobody else is. There's not really very many.
Ralph Ineson?
Yeah, and Bill Nye's in it too.
Yeah, I was watching it, and Nova came in, and she just heard his voice, right? And she said, "Is that the dad from The Witch?" I'm like,
"Yep."
You watched that so long ago. Wow, good job.
Sure is. The First Omen is a prequel to the original 1970s classic, The Omen, and its additional like 4 sequels or 5 sequels or something like that. Storyline in this one, a young American woman is sent to Rome to begin a life of service to the church, but encounters a darkness that causes her to question her faith and ultimately the conspiracy theory that could tear the church apart.
Yeah.
I know
a plan that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so I said this a minute ago, but The Omen is not a franchise that I have any vested interest in. I remember watching the original and being like, The Exorcist is better. Like, that's why I was probably, I don't know, 12, maybe 11, 12, 13 years old. And I knew then, I'm like, The Exorcist is a better, like not that The Exorcist is the same thing, but like, I'm like, it's a better movie. The Omen always felt like it was made in response to The Exorcist. I don't know whether that's true or not. I don't know the timelines in my head. But then the sequels of The Omen, like, they progressively just got like worse and worse and worse. So when a prequel came out of a series that I don't have any vested interest in, it didn't even blip on my radar. But as I said, I saw it show up in a couple lists. I had a couple people tell me, no, it's actually pretty good. There's some creepy stuff going on in it, and it's worth checking out. So we did. And I'm like, if we do it for the show, then I'll have to watch it. So therefore, there we go. So the story, I mean, as we said, is very simple. You have a young American girl who is going into Rome she's going to take her vows to become a nun. She has given her life to God. Again, we have seen this. The other film this year that did it was Immaculate, with Sydney Sweeney, and like I didn't. Did you see Immaculate?
No, I didn't.
I didn't particularly like it.
Okay.
I find, and this is a me thing, I find Sydney Sweeney incredibly unauthentic in virtually everything that she does. Like, I don't know why. I think the first time I saw her in something extended was the first season of The White Lotus, where she played the sister, and then she kind of exploded everywhere. But I just don't believe her in any roles. Like, I don't know why. It's not that she's a bad actress, because she's not. But there's just something about her that just seems super phony to me. And when she was in Immaculate, and I'm like, she's supposed to be a nun. Like, I couldn't get past it.
Okay.
A lot of people love that movie.
I don't think I've seen anything with her in it. I'll watch that. I'll watch Immaculate.
I'd be curious to what you think, because it literally, like, I saw it show up on a bunch of people's end of year lists, in their top 10 horror films or genre films for the year, and I was just like, maybe I'm in the minority. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I don't know. Immaculate's it's on my list of stuff to watch, but it wasn't that high up. But I don't know.
I'd be curious to what you think. What you think of it? I think it could go. It could go either way for you. You could love it or you could hate it. So, anyway, this young girl, she's supposed to be in her early 20s, is what I gather. Margaret. She comes to Rome. They all welcome her with open arms. She's going in to take her vows. She's working at an orphanage that, only works with girls. They have like 60 odd girls there, and they're varying of ages from, young kindergarten age to teenagers. And
right up to the being able to get adopted or be their own adult.
Correct.
Age.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Margaret has lived a fairly sheltered life. We learned that when she was younger, she was like an out of control kid. She would see things. She would like have all these different weird things going on. And when she found God, is what helped her right her ship. And she's put all her faith in God. And she's going to be she's going to become a nun, and she's going to take her vows, and she's going to do all these things. But things at this orphanage immediately seem off. And she works with one of the other sisters, and they're like, oh, Carlita is kind of like the problem child here. She looks like she's probably supposed to be 13, 14 years old, maybe. And she's the one that's always like acting out. She's like, she bites the nuns. Like, she's like kind of a feral type girl that like has these mood swings. Yeah. And Margaret takes a not necessarily a liking, but like responsibility in her, and helping her become part of like the community that they've built there. Cause they talk about how
Sorry.
No, it's okay. They talk about how like they lock her up in a room and like don't treat her well, and all of the stuff that you kind of see from a nun-run orphanage in 1970s Rome.
Yeah, and that the first thing she asks is, why do you have a bad room? Because that's where the girl is, right? That's what they called it. And that's a good question, main character. It's a very good question. I don't trust nuns.
No, me either.
At all. Because I went to Catholic school for a while, and they're just angry assholes when they're teachers or orphanage runners or whatever the fuck. Of course, you're not supposed to trust these nuns.
No. And we in the opening scenes, we're given, the idea that there's something going on within the church. They don't fully explain it, but if you've seen the Omen, you kind of you know what's going on.
Yeah, going in, you have an idea of the whole plan.
Yeah, so there's a little twist in this, but it's not, if you've watched any of the Omen films, you know that, like, they're trying to bring about the Antichrist.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But the idea in this is that from within the church, there's a group in a large secular area of the church that believes the reason why, the reason that people can be brought back to the church, because in the 1970s, a large number of people, and this is fact, this isn't just, turned away from the church for whatever reason. And they feel as though if they can bring about the bringing of the Antichrist, it's going to bring all these people back to the church, which when you start to think about it, doesn't make any fucking sense. Like,
let me ask you this. If you had a bunch of people in a secret underground lair and an altar, and you could get all those people together and summon the literal fucking devil, why do you need babies? Just show everybody the fucking devil. Look, he's real. And then everybody would go to church. You don't have to start fucking Christian Ragnarok to get everybody to go to church, because if the Antichrist is born, the end times have started. What the fuck is happening? Sorry. It's a
okay.
dumb plan.
No, it doesn't.
Plan.
It's like the idea that you're going to bring about the one thing that.
Yeah,
like,
I'm going to win the war by destroying the whole planet.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. But so Margaret takes a liking to Clarita. So we're led to believe that Clarita is the one that is going to spawn the Antichrist or whatever.
I gotta say, playing off of our assumptions was a good choice from the writer, because they left it all on us. If we don't figure out what's going on, I mean, all the clues are there. There's just a lot of misleading ones, and I thought those are done pretty well.
And it doesn't. Yeah, now that like I didn't really think too much about it until you just kind of said like where you can bring about. So like the idea that the Antichrist is going to be conceived by a virgin being taken by a demonic jackal. Where did the demonic jackal come from?
That's like they summoned the devil. It doesn't make sense. Hey, we need this supernatural entity to come over here and make another supernatural entity so we can have another supernatural entity have sex with that one and then have a kid, and then that will get more people to come to church.
Yeah.
What?
If I remember the original Omen, I feel like they said that he was birthed by a jackal. That Damien was birthed by a jackal, not a human woman.
I don't remember.
I don't quote me on that, and I haven't seen the original Omen in quite a while, but I felt as though, because I remember there's a scene where they're burying the jackal. I don't remember. Either way,
now
you know what?
I'm gonna have to watch it just to see.
I actually kind of would like to revisit it after seeing this, because I felt as though they did a pretty good job of tying them together. But now knowing, though, also, and this is kind of getting a little ahead of ourselves and further deeper into the movie, how this movie ends, like I could see why the church would change the narrative of him being born of a human mother.
Yeah.
To fit the idea that the Antichrist was birthed by. Okay, that I could, all right. Be it the original Omen came out in 1975 or 76 or whenever it came out. Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I did like the little extra bit of information we got as like insiders in the whole thing, where we're like, oh, that's how they really have to do it. That's fucked.
Yeah, I think this movie does way more right than it does wrong. It definitely builds your sense of terror and your sense of foreboding throughout the film, because I'd say that its runtime is just about 2 hours, and I would say for the first hour, you don't get a lot of scary stuff, but you get a lot of building stuff, which
that's true.
At the time, you're kind of like, well, this might be a little boring. But then when things start to play out, Margaret starts to do more research. The original priest that's trying to stop everything gets himself involved, and she works with him. And she's like, I don't believe you. Because he comes to her, the same priest from the beginning of the film. And that opening scene was fucking crazy.
Yeah, what happened to the guy?
He died. I mean, he got hit in the head. You got hit in the head with that thing.
Show it, so that was confusing.
Well, they showed the gaping hole in the back of his head from the...
Well, I know. I assumed he was dead, but I really do like it when... Because, sequels and prequels and all this other stuff, like, characters don't die. So if you don't show me that they're dead, I don't believe that they're dead. And that's just everything I watch now.
All right. I think
I get it, though.
It was a great scene, though. The two priests are talking, and they're working on the church, and there's an accident, and a pipe falls down and hits the priest directly in the back of the head, and the guy's like, "Oh my God, Father, are you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine."
Yeah,
and then he
Charles dance. So
yeah, that's true.
You feel bad for him,
and he turns and he walks away, and there's just this hole in the back of his head, and you're like, "Oh, okay, fuck." Like,
yep.
So as that other priest that was there for that gets involved with Margaret, they start to talk about things. She doesn't believe him at first. He's basically like, I believe that Clarita is going to be the one to hold the spawn, and she's like, no, Clarita's just a girl, blah 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 blah. This is also a point where earlier in the film, one of the sisters takes her out for a night on the town, and of course, every time a nun goes out for a night on the town, they indulge too much and do things that they would never do, and then regret it. So all of that plays into it, which is kind of that nice character building moment for her, and she then basically is like looking after Clarita, and she starts to notice these kind of weird things. But then the other sisters start to notice that she's taking this liking to Clarita, and then they separate the two of them, and she's basically like, hey, you can't be around her anymore. But this is then after a scene where they keep talking about a lot of the riots that are going on in Rome at this time. And there's a point where she gets caught in the riot and starts to see things, and all of this crazy shit happens. And they're just basically like, listen, you can't be around her anymore. So now you're like, okay, yeah, there's definitely, we knew that something was going on, but now the narrative has showed you that, okay, they're purposely separating them because there's something going on.
Yeah.
So Margaret goes a snooping as people are wont to do in these type of films, and finds all of the information that she's looking for. And she's like, we got to get Clarita out of here. And she is then, put in the bad room and basically made to like go about herself. She sees all these weird different things going on. And one of the priests that's there is working on the other side and basically helps get her out. And we know now that there's two sides of the church. And one side of the church is your classic, fear of God, like everything for him, trying to do, quote unquote, better in the world. The other half of the church thinks that, as we said earlier, by bringing about the Antichrist, they're going to save the church.
Yeah. What would have been interesting, I think, is if they had introduced secret Bible passages or stuff.
Or another version of the Bible or something.
Yeah, where they're getting their instructions from. Like a lost book of the Bible. Like you could give it to one of the women that have been, edited out of the book. And it could be that. But no, it's just the regular old normal fucking end of the world, I guess. There was another movie not that long ago that just ended up being, it's the Terrifier series, just ends up being straight up normal God and the devil. And if it really ends up being that, I'm going to be kind of disappointed because it's very vanilla to me to go Christianity for your backstory. This, I get it. I mean, obviously. Well,
there's been so many.
It's the devil.
Yeah. and you and I both really tend to really love like the religious horror stuff, but there's just been so many, like the Pope's exorcism and like.
Yeah. And then he did another one after that about exorcism too.
There's just been so many religious horror films the last couple of years that like they all have just kind of like turned into the same film. Yeah. But I was pleasantly surprised with this kind of building its own little thing, which I didn't really expect.
I like the fact that how you create the Antichrist is disturbing.
Yeah, because it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, this may be the first movie that actually made me uncomfortable because, your mother sucks cocks in hell. Like that only is shocking because a 12-year-old said it.
Right.
I don't know where it's going with that, but
well, and
I don't know.
I was surprised at how graphic some of the stuff in this, like there's a birthing scene in this earlier in the film that like she starts to hallucinate and see something that's not really there, or maybe it was, who knows? But like the shot of like the thing coming out from the woman between the legs and like, it was way more graphic than I expected it to be. And it was super effective.
Yeah. I read something on that said that they kept getting it sent back for NC-17. And when they finally got the cut down to an R, they said that it actually, their cuts made it more disturbing.
I believe it.
Because you have to imagine.
You don't see quite as much. You have to kind of suspend, but you do still see it.
Yeah. One good thing about that is that all of the hallucination stuff that we see, it's all the same. And I don't mean like repetitive. I mean like it's the same type of hand or skin or whatever. So there's you start to realize that it's just, this is one thing. She's not being bothered by a shitload of ghosts. It's just, there's one problem.
Yeah.
And that's what's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I won't reveal the twist in this one, but like the twist that they give is, I think it works really well. And it changes the narrative exactly the way that it should. And now with saying we know how the first Omen film goes, so that we know that you don't necessarily get a happy ending in this, which I think does a really good job of setting this as a like true prequel, as opposed to rewriting the history of the Omen. The Omen series.
You can't have a happy ending for a movie that for a happy ending to a movie that predates immediately one that is just tragic.
Yeah.
You can't have happy people.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah. And I mean, this film does a really good job of then interconnecting. They use the same music during the birthing scene that was in the original.
The music, I don't like the music because it's very disturbing. Good job, movie.
It works perfectly.
It does, and I hate it.
Was it Ave Santani is the classical piece that they use. But the film, the look of this is great. I believe it was filmed in Rome, or at least, chunks of it were. It looks good. It's bright and shiny and sunny when it needs to be. It's dark, dank, and cloudy when it needs to be. The bowels of the orphanage / church facility are certifiably creepy, and being in Rome 100%, I'm like, yeah, there's definitely a basement in there that nobody knows about. Like,
oh yeah.
I think it all works. And I was, again, as I said earlier with the other film, I was pretty surprised because I had no vested interest in the Omen series, and now like I kind of do want to go back and rewatch at least the original. Do you want to grade? You got more you want to say?
No, I can do that.
All right, Chris, do you recommend, and what is your grade for the first Omen?
All right. I am going to recommend it. It was fun, but this is a low on the list recommend. It's like, if you got other stuff you've been looking forward to, go see it first. Otherwise, you've seen this already, I would imagine. I couple thoughts real quick.
Yeah, sure.
When they wheel her into the underground surgical area, like at that point in the movie, I was just like saying shit out loud. So she's on the gurney. They're rolling her into this underground, like Paris catacomb type area under everything. And I'm like, if I was there, I absolutely would have sat up on the gurney and said, I don't think this is a sterile environment. Can we do this somewhere else?
Yeah, there's a point where the guy's got the dirty hands and like he's not even wearing gloves. You're like, oh.
I'm like, yeah, just reach in there. Go ahead. Just grab that. Fucking. Now, I'm going to, even though I said I recommend this, I'm going to say that some other movies have done this shorter, faster, and more entertaining. The whole Son of the Devil story. And I'm looking specifically over at Safe Haven, the short.
Oh, yeah.
Because that doesn't waste any goddamn time at all.
But they're also not trying to build a world. So there's, I mean,
no, but the world's already built though, isn't it? With the Omen.
Right.
So,
right.
I remember now. The one thing that bugs me about prequels is callbacks to shit that hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
In this one, the woman that lights herself on fire.
Yes, I did want to make mention of that.
I was totally happy with her lighting herself on fire. But once she jumped off the balcony, I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a scene in Alien Romulus where one of the characters says, get away from her, you bitch. And I was done with it then. Those are iconic lines for iconic characters. You can't take them. If I was writing Romulus or if I was anywhere near the writing room and I heard that line was going to be delivered, I would say, hey, is this rated R? And they'd say, yeah, of course it is. And I'd say, well, I can never trust you guys these days. And they'd say, what do you want? And I'd say, well, how about instead you have them say, get away from her, you ugly motherfucker. And then that's a Predator line, and it's funny, and it's not trite.
Yeah, the lip service being paid and those stats. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that
Hey,
scene,
remember this thing? It's from this thing.
yeah, that
we do.
scene
We remember.
in this where she sets herself on fire and then hangs herself and jumps down and smashes through the window. Like in the original Omen, she just does it and just hangs herself, but it's the same scene. And
Yeah.
I understand why they did it. And I'm willing to bet you that was something that the studio added of the woman was probably just like she sets herself on fire and then falls off the building.
Yeah.
But they're like,
which is what I wanted.
you know what the Omen fans would really like
Yeah.
is if we run back that scene because it's the most iconic scene from the original film.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet the director and then we're probably like, all right, fine. Fine. Like, is it gonna stop the movie from getting released? Well, I don't know. Okay, yeah, just fine, fucking do it. That's fine.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that. If it's after the fact, fine. If it's something innocuous, like I got a bad feeling about this, okay, fine. Just make sure it fits. You know?
Yeah.
I was disappointed she hung herself. Not great. Not a good idea. Anyway, so yeah, this is an average son of the devil kind of thing, and like even comic book movies have done this storyline with like Constantine, and it's just like, okay, it's the son of the bad guy. It's not the bad guy. What are we worried about? Anyway, I'll give it a C.
Okay.
I don't have really strong feelings one way or the other, except for the hanging thing. I thought that was too much of it. It wasn't a nod. It was like a punch in the arm to the original.
Yeah. I'm going to recommend it. It was better than I thought it was going to be. And I think because I've seen so many nun-related films in the last couple of years, the fact that this one told a good story, had me guessing a couple times. The use of gore was right. Like the Nun 2.
It was very subdued, which was
yeah.
good.
The Nun
held
2
back.
is just fucking terrible. Like it's just. I mean, the first Nun movie is bad, and the second one is just like utterly terrible.
The first one was just boring. I found that,
and so was the second one.
I didn't watch the second one.
Yeah, it was just like I'm like this character's got this Valak has got a great look. Like the look of the nun is great, but I'm just like. This is just like stupid. At least here, they did a really good job of building that tension through the first hour of the film. And then when it starts to open up, you're like, okay, I'm on board now. I know the character well, and I know the Margaret character well enough to feel for her. I like what, that she's questioning things and she didn't immediately just jump on board with the theories or also like immediately just be like, nope, sorry, Like she was curious. The twist that happens with her, I thought was really good, and the reasoning for everything, the fact that it ends downtrodden, knowing what comes in the first film in the series, I thought it all worked. I love the look of it. I like the feel of it. But as you said, it is kind of a played out thing. So I think that if this movie was not an Omen movie and was released on its own, it would probably not hit as well. Because you don't have the film world that they've built to fall back on. But at the same time, it's kind of a hindrance for it because it kind of does make it shoebox itself into certain things and they have to do certain things. But I think it's a pretty good made film. It's shot well. The music works. The way they tie it in with the exception of the hanging scene I thought was good. So I'm going to give this a B-. Better than average. Better than average, but not something that I'm going to necessarily revisit anytime soon. I will probably rewatch the original Omen film, and then depending on how I feel about that, maybe a couple of the others. But I'm not going to revisit this anytime soon. But I think it's done well, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, no, I mean it looks great. It is filmed fantastic. I'll give it that for sure.
Speaking of things that have been filmed fantastic, Joe is here to talk about Tremors 3. Let's see how that goes. I think we already know the answer. But
Well, happy holidays, Bill. Happy holidays, Chris. And happy holidays, OTC
Happy
Nation.
holidays.
It's your boy Joe here. And, well, this week, Bill took me back to Nevada. Or Nevada. Tomato, tomato, potato, potato. Nobody ever says potato. He made me watch Tremors 3 back to perfection. Because when I think about the best movies to watch just a few days before Christmas, I don't think about Love Actually or Scrooged or Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. I think about Tremors 3. I'm suddenly remembering last year when Bill made me pull a Ghostbusters and choose the form of my Destructor by choosing my own cult Christmas movies to watch, and I rolled a critical fail all but maybe 1 week.
Yeah,
I seem to remember enjoying the sleazy quasi-remake Silent Night. I definitely remember the rest of them being so bad, they made me want to make Tucker Carlson's holiday wishes come true and start the first actual war on Christmas. Quick side note. I just got in from taking care of my chickens, and you guys, it is 4 degrees outside.
It was
I know
10
I
yesterday.
should be talking about this just okay movie, but in order to prevent frostbite on their combs and wattles, you need to apply a bit of Vaseline on a chicken. So I need to talk about this. So there I am, butt crack of dawn. I filled their little feed thingy. I filled their little heated water bowl. Made them a bowl of warm oatmeal because I'm a very, very good chicken dad. Then I'm standing there in the dark, in the cold, putting Vaseline on chickens. What I'm trying to say is that some mornings are weirder than others. I should be happy, though, because Gaylord, a town about 3 hours northeast of me, broke a record and hit 21 below this morning.
Holy shit.
way
I
too
don't
early in
even
the
want
year
to
for
know what that
type
kind of
temperature.
feels like. Some movies are more stupid than others, so let's hit play on this. Wait, Ariana Richards is in this, reprising her role as the girl on the pogo stick, Mindy or something like that.
Oh.
Like, that was obviously pre-Jurassic Park. So basically what I'm saying is she parlayed her newfound fame from maybe the most successful movie of the 90s that wasn't about a famous shipwreck into Tremors 3.
Hey, we got to do what you got to do.
Listen, we all self-sabotage from time to time, but that's just fucking ridiculous. Anyway, Fred Ward either smartened up or maybe the residuals from The Crow, Salvation, and Corky Romano are better than we'd guess they are. Because he took a pass on returning to Perfection, Nevada, leaving Michael Gross's gun nut, Burt Gummer, to do something about leading the charge against, monsters or whatever. I got stooged
Totally
off
lost
reading the
steam
wiki
there.
before starting this, and the next evolution of Graboid is called Ass Blasters, which made me kind of not want to watch this, not because that's not funny, it's just dumb. Because from context, they're either going to shoot fire out of their butts, or they want to fuck you in a very uncomfortable place. I'm not talking about the backseat of a Volkswagen. Probably the former. Let's find out. At the start of this film, Bert is in Argentina, having been hired by the government to eradicate graboids. He is fully funded, making that green, or, whatever color the Argentine peso is, and he has all the equipment he'd ever need and more. But he chooses to go back to the scuzzy little meth backwater town in Nevada. Yet again, I go back to we all have choices to make in life, and we don't always choose right, but whatever, Bert, go off, King. I don't know, it just seems like a no-brainer. Stay in Argentina. All the tropes are thrown in here. There's evil land developers that want to turn Perfection Valley, to turn it into parcels and make it like a bland McMansion suburb. And Bert rails against eminent domain, which, to be fair, is one of the rare times when I agree with him and that type of person. But graboids just happen to reemerge once he does, and not only does all hell break loose, there's a government stooge insisting that graboids are an endangered species and must not be hunted, and I'm sorry.
So bad.
Between this and Ghostbusters, I am never going to believe the EPA as the bad guys in anything. They're the Environmental Protection Agency. And yeah, they're not perfect, but fucking come on. Mountain lions are protected here in Michigan. But if I iced one that was trying to kill me, exactly nothing would happen when the fish and game guy would show up, except he'd come to my house and ask me the story and just sit there mystified by it. You killed a mountain lion.
Yeah.
The graboids are now ass blasters, and I was sort of right. They've got bubble guts that cause flatulence, strong enough that they can fly for a short distance.
You and me both.
Hilarious. I'm now realizing that while we always knew that sequels can be a tricky balance to get right, what the first two had that this one is completely lacking is charm. Likeable characters bumblefucking their way through a bad situation. Like a good wrestling match, you can do all the moves you want, but if I don't give a shit about either one of you, I don't care about the match. I don't care how many flips you do.
Yeah.
Michael Gross plays this way too straight. Most of the other characters, aren't given enough time for us to give a fuck, and the ones that they do are idiot heels who I actively want to die. No joke, this movie is lazier than my cat. Not only is it lazy, it's paced like a jar of molasses left out in front of my house right now. To be fair, it has warmed up to 10 degrees. My point stands, though. After beating the ass blasters, a phrase I couldn't have imagined I'd ever say, they beat the land developers and turned the whole valley into a safari park for graboids. So they didn't save the town with a breakdancing show like they should have. They saved it in a method that makes me side with the land developers for the first time in my life. Here's the thing, the good. I got the rest of my presents wrapped, painted my nails, and watched the lions absolutely body the bears while attempting to pay attention to this movie that is drier than the place that it's set in. The bad. All three of these movies so far have told very similar stories with only slightly varied details. The first two, though, had a sense of charm and fun. This one only served to highlight how important fun and charm are in a creature feature. Tremors 3 is going to get a D+. It's saved from a D for the maybe 3 to 5 total minutes of this thing that are enjoyable. I'll be back next week with the last of these movies that I own on DVD. I bought a collection that had the first 4 Tremors films a decade ago. Just now getting to that pesky 4th one, though. I'm sure it's just going to be a banner fucking way to ring in the new year. Until then, be good, everyone.
There you have it. It didn't go as downhill as I thought it was going to.
No, not yet.
It doesn't sound great.
No.
It doesn't sound great.
No. Speaking of movies with charm, did you see the teaser trailer for the remake of Return of the Living Dead?
I did not.
I'm okay with it. It matters, but it's all right because it's just a tease, and I kind of like the feel of it. I don't know if that's how the final one's going to be because the last 2 were vomit.
Yep.
But
that was what Rave to the Grave and
Necropolis.
Yeah, Necropolis.
I can't believe I remember that. Yeah, those were like House of the Dead sequels, not Return of the Living Dead sequels.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Stuff looked okay. I'm I'm hopeful. I will watch it.
Of course
I don't
you
know
will.
if I'll like it.
Of course you'll watch it. All right. Let's see what Reverend Scott's up to this week.
A little more modern. Can we please get a District 9 sequel? Please and thank you.
It's not going to happen.
I fucking cried at the end of that movie.
Wuss.
Holy shit! With Reverend Scott.
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott.
He's fucking creepy from the get-go.
Yeah.
When he smiles, it doesn't matter. He's up to something.
Yeah.
Oh boy, am I. Because Sony had a gift for me this month that I will turn into a Christmas gift for you this week. And as much as I'm dying to tell you about the best new superhero film since Madam Web, we have some reviews of your reviews that do first.
All right, it's What's Inside.
So when I started listening to this review on the show, I had only seen part of the trailer for this film. So what's it about?
Someone is caught masturbating in a film.
Okay, that sounds good already. And that was even before Bill started bragging about his sweet ride.
Hitting in my Lambo.
But seriously, this is about a game of sorts between old friends that all seem to have lots of unresolved issues between them.
The last time they were all together at this house was for a birthday party for, it was for Dennis, but they all remember it as it being a birthday party for Ruben, and that kind of plays into the disdain.
Love, pentagrams, jealousy, loathing, the works. But luckily, they're all dumb enough to blindly jump into a nightmarish hellscape scenario with a guy named Forbes.
So he takes out this suitcase and he opens it up, and it's got this machine in it. Mm-hmm. And he's like, all right. He's like, let's play this game. And they're like, what are you talking about? He's like, don't worry about it. Like, here, you just take these 2 electrodes and you put them on your temple. And I put you into this machine, and then I hit a button, and something's going to happen with a guy that you obviously, like, he has a history with these people, and it's not good with all of them.
And the body swap aspect was pretty wild to start with. The cool way that they try to keep the confusion at a minimum with the named Polaroids pinned to their shirts was something that I appreciated. Or sometimes they turned the screen red and showed who the real person talking was, not just the body that was talking. But as soon as you mentioned the first main dilemma in the movie, I was so terrified by the concept that I had to watch this before you spoiled the actual ending. Knowing that your body is dead and you're trapped in someone else's now is just like watching the butterfly effect or the time machine or something, seeing things hopelessly ruined and there's seemingly nothing that you can do about it. Then it gets even worse.
Shelby does not want to leave Katie's body. Katie is in Maya's body. Maya's real body is, or Maya's, somebody's dead. I don't know.
Here's where I can tell this movie got seriously confusing for you. First of all, there is no character named Katie in this. The Instagram girl was Nikki, and Nikki was in Brooke's body. Brooke's mind was dead, inside of Maya's dead body. Shelby is in Nikki's body. Dennis was in Cyrus's body. Cyrus was in Forbes's body. Forbes is in Ruben's body. And Ruben's mind is dead, inside of Dennis's dead body. Are we clear?
He has a punchable face.
And I agree with you, the twist later was great. It was really just the heel turn by Shelby that I felt was too extreme. The punishment for Cyrus did not fit the crime. They either needed to just completely leave that out like you mentioned, or make him out to be much worse of a person that just did something far more illegal and terrible, or just have Shelby say she'll help him after he spends a few days in jail thinking about what he did. Just something other than him failing a mind game test of loyalty with her and getting back-to-back life sentences in prison for it. A few other things of note, the changing photographs was a great idea to show how memories can vary, and the closing credits showed the actor's name and then showed the multiple names of characters that they played. Because oftentimes I think they all did a pretty good job of portraying a different person despite what their body looked like. That was handled pretty well.
Yeah.
Overall, I give this, I don't know, I think a B+ is fair. And the review gets a B+ as well. Could have been an A though, but you made up characters' names.
Because I've never done that before. Infested, the original title, Vermins.
A movie that asked the question, what if spiders were exactly the same as they already are, but in a movie?
They find a nest of these spiders, they use some gas to gas them out. One of them jumps and bites the guy that's trying to get them out, and then everybody else starts to catch them. And then one of the guys kills the other guy just to put him out of his misery because he's freaking out after the bite.
Can you imagine? Dude gets upset over a spider bite so someone kills him? That's like getting a life sentence in prison because you upset your girlfriend one time. Anyway, tell me more about this other nightmarish hellscape movie.
Spoiler alert, spider escapes,
Oh yeah, surprise.
lays a bunch of eggs. Now we got a whole bunch of spiders.
But the true test for you both was the size of the spiders.
How big can they get? And then this movie pretty much went, oh, they can get this big? Fine, we'll do that big.
Well, good. They passed the test. Other than that, they sounded like, typical spiders being awful.
They were little and like everywhere
That's
and
true.
all over everything.
But was it more spiders than you bargained for?
That was too many spiders.
Yeah. Yeah, that's too many spiders.
So I give Too Many Spiders a B+, and that review gets a B. So that just leaves us with what Sony has been spending $120 million on lately. Kraven the Hunter, a quote-unquote superhero movie that no one was asking for and even less people went to go see in the theater. I mean, if you can't believe it by the box office numbers alone, you can just look around in the theater. Mine was basically empty. But who knows? Maybe those people were just away from their seats.
Oh, I'm gonna go spend all my time in the bathroom, which is good.
Kraven, played by kick-ass star, what's-his-name, starts off as a young man named Sergey on safari in Tanzania or something like that with his dad, Russell Crowe. Crowe has a wonderful Russian/Italian accent, depending on what his mood was. Anyway, Sergey saves his brother from a lion, only to be mortally wounded. A girl named Calypso just so happens to find him, and just so happens to have just been given a healing potion by her grandma that morning. That was so convenient.
Good timing.
The potion, in combination with the lion's blood that dripped into his open wounds, results in this mediocre movie. Results in his enhanced reflexes, strength, speed, and facial hair growth. Fast forward many years, Sergey is known as Kraven now because that's what he calls himself and because he has nice abs, I guess. And he's a hunter of the most dangerous game, man. And if you're on his list, the only way off of it is to die.
I want to puke.
And when he's not killing random drug kingpins inside of a run-down prison with lion claws, he's celebrating his brother's birthday. However, later that night, because Kraven's outside sleeping on the ground for some reason, he doesn't hear the bad guys come kidnap his brother. Kraven's dad, Russell Crowe, is certainly no help, though, refusing to look weak by paying the $20 million ransom. That's why I don't ever pay $20 million ransoms either. Who wants to look weak? So Kraven goes searching for Calypso to get more healing juice, I assume, and when he finds her, he sees that she's a lawyer now, which Kraven thinks that means Calypso can help him find his brother, I guess.
Which I don't get.
I don't get it either.
Oh, and did I tell you that the girl's name is Calypso? Don't worry, in case you forgot, the movie reminds you that it's Calypso every 20 to 30 seconds, repeating it at least 127 times. Calypso. Anywho, when we meet the bad guys, there's some dude that can paralyze you by counting the 3 or something, and a guy that looks like an accountant with a small backpack on. We find out that he's the opposite of Bane, because instead of using the backpack to pump himself up, it's a suppressant of his rhino powers. Unplugging the juice turns him into this unbreakable rhino called the Rhino. He dies later by getting broken.
This sounds
Ended up
awful.
being pretty easy to do, so, why not?
If it's easy to do.
Kraven gets mortally wounded yet again, as he's apt to do, and is saved by Calypso's healing juice yet again. Good thing she had more. Later, Kraven finds out that his dad, Russell Crowe, is partially behind the kidnapping because he wanted Kraven to take out the Rhino, his sole rival in next year's Biggest Asshole competition, Calypso. So Kraven could kill his father, but he doesn't. He just pulls a Carlito's Way on him later, when Russell Crowe tries to kill a charging bear, only to find that Kraven took all the ammo out of his gun. Whoops. Then the bear mauls him. That part's pretty fun.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Calypso. I'm sure if you were to ask Sony, this was the superhero movie that we all needed.
I mean, did we?
I don't know.
Did we really?
That's what we were told. I don't believe anything, but that's the identifiable phrase for the event.
As far as I know, Kraven is definitely not a superhero, and he's definitely not a good guy. He's barely what I might call an anti-hero. There's basically no one besides maybe Calypso we can get behind.
Were we supposed to be cheering for anybody? Because I couldn't.
Well, that's a question we'll get into.
Not today we won't, because I'm about to grade this pile of shit. But first, do I recommend Kraven the Hunter? I mean, if you're looking for a good laugh and are willing to wait for over an hour before you see a couple of decent fights and kills and love the name Calypso, then sure, I give Kraven the Hunter a C-, if I'm being generous. Of course, it's no Madam Web. Holy moly, that was a lot to get through. But at least you have Christmas to look forward to in just a few days. That should be fun, right?
It is dark, angry, and terrifying from like the second it starts to the second it ends.
Wow, sounds like that's almost as good as this segment was.
It got under my skin. It made me cringe. It made me jump. I felt uneasy the whole time.
At least that sounds better than Chris's last sexual experience.
Thousands of baby spiders shot out onto me. And I think they're finally all off of me.
So until the next time thousands of spiders shoot out all over you,
Yep.
Merry Christmas. And peace and love, guys. Outside the Cinema, the most professional cult movie podcast on the internet.
I don't know what happened. He just shot the person.
Yeah.
Hold on.
No, it won't shut off. What the hell? Hang on.
No, do the whole
How
show
about
like
no?
that.
Oh, it's still doing it. What the hell? How about now? Oh, son of a bitch.
I like that. I think we're stuck with
I
that.
thought maybe if I turned it off or like put on one of the other sound effects, it would stop, but it won't shut off.
How about now? Oh, there we go. All right. All right.
Oh my god, that was the best. I'm dizzy.
Oh, shit. All right. Hey, guys. Next week's show is our last show, our final show of 2024. Chris and I will be revealing our top 10 movies of the year list. This is not simply just genre stuff or horror cult stuff. It's our 10 favorite films from the year, regardless of genre. If you would like to send us a list, feel free. You can send it to outsidethecinema@gmail.com, or you can send it to us on Facebook or any of those other places you like. You can follow Chris and I on Instagram at Cthulhu, at OTCBill. I'm on TikTok now too. I've posted a few. I'm an old man, and I'm kind of just like I don't get it. But I'm on TikTok. I'm pretty sure it's just OTC Bill on TikTok also. Yeah. That's about it. One more show
right.
for the year, and then we'll start fresh. Cool. Everyone have a good week, and if you celebrate holidays, enjoy your holiday of choice.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Games.